Talks event. And so great to see so many of you online, even though we had to do a last minute change. So my name is Kim, and I'm a Year 12 student at BSJ. I'm part of Ilmu Kita, which is a passionate social enterprise committed to helping students determine their best fit career path and preparing them for life outside of high school. Today's session is one that we're hosting to give students a chance to meet professionals from different career paths that they may pursue in the future. So, make sure to type any questions that you have into the chat, and we're gonna answer them preferably at the end. But if we see any interesting questions, you can just Miss Priambodo can just answer them straight away if you want to. There's no problem there. Please do be aware that this meeting is being recorded, and I will also add a link in the chat right now for you to refer to our website, our Instagram, and the Firefly page for this event. So allow me to introduce our very esteemed guest, Ms. Archichandri Priambodo. So she joined the Asian Development Bank in 2021 as a senior energy specialist in the Southeast Asia department. She has 20 years of experience in the clean energy sector, particularly in the power sector. And she covers, she's competed in team leadership and management of complex clean energy and climate change mitigation projects and programs in Southeast Asia, including Indonesia. Chitra has in-depth knowledge and hands-on experiences with dealing with cross-cutting issues of energy projects like policy and regulatory framework and climate change aspects, including GHG accounting and carbon emission inventory. Prior to joining the Asian Development Bank, ADB, she was the director of Castle Rock Consulting in Singapore for almost 11 years, where she identified consulting opportunities, led proposal writing and client negotiation, and managed technical assistance projects and other consulting assignments in the energy sector and the climate change issues. Yay! Okay, thank you so much for coming, for taking the time to be here today. So to start us off, maybe you can elaborate a little bit on the work that you do.
Okay, so right now in the ADB, I'm the senior energy specialist. So what I'm doing right now is I work in the sovereign loan. So sovereign loan means that in ADB we have the biggest department is to provide lending to government. So in my department, my team, we design and loan packages, and we also identify the technical assistance that we can provide to the government in the Southeast Asia. So for example, in Indonesia, for example, ADB has provided around 1.8 billion lending for the past 6 years, what we call result-based lending. And that support the development of increasing the distribution network, and also to develop a small-scale renewable energy, and also help them right now. The most recent one is to help them in the dispatching system center for the power generation and the power supply. So that is basically what I'm doing now. Prior to join ADB, I was a consultant for almost 20 years, of which almost 11 years was with Castle Rock, where when I was with consultant, I became the consultant of this multilateral agency. I became consultant of ADB, I became the consultant of the World Bank, I was the consultant of GIZ. So, and all of the activities, the consulting activities that I did, always relate to development of a clean energy sector. For example, development of small-scale renewable energy, solar distributed generation in Sumba. And then we also did assessments of power sector modeling in North Sulawesi. We did some assessment of how to accelerate climate change financing in Vietnam. So that types of the work that I have been doing until now. I think
Mhm.
that's. I hope that is like quite a short descriptions of what I'm doing.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting because I mean, clean energy obviously is a huge topic now, right? And so I'd really just like to ask, like, what led you to do, like, focus solely on clean energy? Because you mentioned that you've been doing this for like many, many years, even before like it started getting popular, right? So, like, how did you get into clean energy?
Okay, so I did my bachelor degree in mechanical engineering. And when I was in the University of Indonesia, when I entered the mechanical engineering department, there are four subdivision. There are like sub focus. We can say like in the mechanical engineering student, they can choose whether they would like to focus on construction, like mechanical construction, whether they would like to focus on the energy conversion or the manufacturing sector or industrial engineering. So since I like physics, and especially I really like thermodynamics, I chose the major in energy conversion. So basically when I studied, I always already interested in the power plants, electricity generation, electricity supply, heat transfer. So that is basically what I learned in the engineering school. And then I did my further studies. I did my master's in energy technology. And when I did my master's in energy technology, uh, when I chose the research topics at the time, the professors posted some research topics related to certain. So I remember at the last year when I did my masters, he proposed some research topics to the students to be assessed for them to do the research. And one of the topics at that time that listed in the department where I studied was greenhouse gas mitigations. So I was so interested to that because I was always attracted on the environmental. And then when I look at this greenhouse gas topic, I saw that, oh yeah, this is very interesting because I work on energy sectors, and this greenhouse gas is really related to emissions which is contributed by burning fossil fuels, right? So that's why I chose the topics on the greenhouse gas mitigations. And when I finished my study in my master's, my professor offered me to work on the research as a research associate on the greenhouse gas mitigation projects in Sri Lanka and China at that time in small scale medium industries. So that was how I started my career in that realm. So it's like for me, it's very straightforward. I started on that one until now. No change in the subject and the topics.
That sounds really nice, though. It sounds like you had a passion and you worked towards it really well. Yeah. So, would you say that being able to do things that you enjoy is the best part of your job? And how does that translate over to everyday life?
Yeah, well, because I like what I'm doing. Well, I like the topics. So of course, like and okay, after more than 20 years of working, I have to inform you, whatever what work you do, where even if you really like it, it's still work. So it's still challenging. There will be bottleneck. There will be frustration. But at least if you like it, at the bottom line, at heart, you try to go through to those challenges and just try to find solutions. So, and of course, if we don't work like our work, can you imagine? At least if we work 9 to 5, if we don't like what we are doing, why we waste our time? We better just use our time to do what we like, but seriously, focus.
So true, so true. I feel like that's very important. I think a lot of people think that if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life, right? That's not very.
That's not true.
Yeah.
You will still have frustration. You will still have like most of the time, yeah, it's not the subject that you makes the frustration, but working with people is all there will always have frustration with working with people because you have to face lots of brains, lots of mouths, lots of ideas. So sometimes it's not the subjects that give us frustrations, but of course the relationship and also like the tensions between ideas and in the meeting, things like that. So since all of you very young, please trust me, there's nothing easy in this life, but if you at least like it at the heart, you go for it and you just do what things that you think it's right.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah. So you mentioned that there are a lot of challenges, even if you like it. So what are some of the bigger challenges that you think you face working with, clean energy? You said working with people is also a big challenge sometimes with a lot of ideas.
Of course, because when we work, especially then when we work in a team and we work in the team that's facing another team, there always be like tensions, and then the way we work is also not the same as the way other people's work. So we really need to have in mind that what in your mind is sometimes people cannot see what's in your mind, and what's in their mind we cannot also see their mind. So better clarify everything when you discuss something, especially when you negotiate, because I need to, like for example, when I was with the consulting agency, I need to negotiate my contracts. So in the contract you have like terms and conditions. And when we read the contract, we need to make sure that, okay, it's in our interest that the contract will work to our interest, but also fair to the other party, right? So, and then we need to negotiate between our interest and their interest. So these are the things that you need to also consider when you work, because you don't work only for your subject, but you work for people. Basically, what you delivered is for the betterment of in the world anyway, right? Of course, money is important, but and very helpful, but but eventually we will feel very satisfied. We will feel we feel satisfied if our work is being used and our idea is also being used, and if we are useful to people. I think I heard in some books on like psychology or neuroscience book that one of the happy hormone that we have, it's triggered by a sense of satisfaction. And one of the sense of the satisfactions that can generate that happy hormone is when we feel we are useful. So I think that is also the things that I would like to, share with all of you.
Yeah, I think that's very true. Like being of use and being like able to contribute is a really great way to feel satisfied, right? Mm. So connected to that, I feel like you've worked so many years in the clean energy industry. How do you feel like it's changed? Like new technology or the ideas behind it, maybe acceptance for clean energy?
Especially towards now, like this, I think all of you, do you know like IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change? I think all of you, if you're interested to climate change, please download the most updated summary of the IPCC report, because it really pushed us to the edge of, I don't say like disaster. So we really need to, we really need to be prepared on what's the worst in terms of climate change. So this is the thing which I think the work has shifted more towards the net zero emissions, more pro towards like climate change actions. Because I remember during a meetings, we supported the loan to to a utility in Southeast Asia. And we, at that time, we had meetings, we helped them having like roadshow to invite investors. And when we have discussion with all of these investors around the world, from Hong Kong, from the European countries, from the US, and other countries in Asia Pacific, it's very clear, and it's just happened end of last year, and it's very clear from the investor sides that they are already shifting towards cleaner power plants. Like, for example, if utility would like still operates and invest in coal power plant, they will not invest in that utility. So there's already a change in the financial sector, which I haven't seen it maybe even 5 years ago. So the trend have shifted towards more environmental, sustainable, and sustainability issues, environmental, social, and governance.
That's nice. It's nice to know that, right? Because I think a lot of people are very worried about climate change and everything going on right now. And it's nice to know that, on a corporate level, there's a sort of a shift in the way that they're investing. So one thing that I would really like to know is you mentioned road shows, right? You do a lot of like road shows for for the companies that you're helping. Does COVID how does COVID affect that? How does COVID affect your job, like in general? Do you think it's like harder to have meetings or like things like that?
So basically, for the past 2 years, I have been working remotely, and I spent 98% of my meetings in front of the Zoom. The remaining 2% is only in-person meeting from the beginning of this year. But before this year, everything runs in Zoom or Teams or Google Meet. So the COVID has changed that platform. So we understand that, okay, at a certain level of relationship, we can do it remotely. But of course, there are things that cannot be replaced by in-person meeting. But I think pandemic has demonstrated to us that we can work more efficiently on the certain level, not necessarily to commute and things like that. So I think going forward, the way we work is going to be hybrid, because of course, as I mentioned before, there are certain things that cannot be replaced by Zoom, need in-person meeting.
Yeah, I think we're all feeling that as well, right? Since we're having this online and we're having, all these discussions online. So personally, I have a question. We can get to Henry's question first. Yeah.
Do you think in real life meetings more effective than of online meetings? Yes, especially if you at a certain. It really depends on the objective of the meeting itself. For example, I'm a new person in ADB, and then I need to build a client relationship with the government of Cambodia, and I haven't known this government in Cambodia before. For me, that is example of a situation where in-person meeting is important. Because with in-person meeting, we can at least read the body language, eyes, the face, like something that cannot be conveyed just through conversation. And those are very critical when you build a new relationship. It's like dating, basically. Yes. Basically, we experience dating in everyday life, in not only like in love or romantic relationship, but in all our relationship, right? So that's where in-person meeting can be effective. But when you already have like a long-term relationship and you just would like to catch up and then make a progress, in-person meeting should not be an obstacle to progress what you have done. because you already built the relationship, you already have like a continued relationship. So in that case, then we can, like continue and then replace some of in-person meetings with the online meeting. So it really depends on the context and also the objective of your meeting itself. It can be more effective, but sometimes I also found some in-person meeting is not effective, especially when you don't have clear objective of what you want to achieve in the meeting itself.
Rather than like on in person or online, just depends on the situation and how prepared you are
Yes.
going in, right? Yeah, that's a very good point, I think. Yeah. Other than this, like also my personal question, right? So obviously, engineering is a very like male dominated sort of like industry, and so like for many years I feel like it's not very represented in women engineers, right? So like, is there any advice you want to give if they want to go into engineering, like how, like maybe setbacks that they would face, or like how to deal with this sort of setbacks?
Just be brave. If you like engineering, just do it. It's good. I mean, like when I decided that I would like to go to the engineering school, I didn't think of that basically. Um,
So,
really.
sorry to interrupt, but this is a very interesting question that I really like interest in. Is there any discrimination though when you are going to university or in your work as a female engineer?
I mean, luckily, I don't feel that way. Because I don't know. I think like when we show our confidence, I just don't care what they think, So I just want to say like, okay, this is my opinion. I sometimes I even forget that I'm a woman. I just see people, like unified, like no gender, So I just forget that. I sometimes totally forget that I'm a woman. In that sex. So I think in terms of that, maybe you also, I mean, we as a women, we also need to have like our mindset that okay, we don't have a judgment first when we enter that sector. We just be confident that we just equal. We're just human being. And then I have to tell you, it's my experience as a female engineer in mechanical engineering, it was so nice because lots of people, lots of my friends are supporting me because they're males. Because, like in the male-dominated society or like in Asia, they feel like, okay, women needs to be protected. So even sometimes when I don't have people to take me to the home, there's always my friends who always, okay, I will accompany you and then I will accompany you until you're reaching your house. So I think that is good as well.
So you really take the advantage of, being a male dominated sector that, you have a lot of things that you can, offer for you, right? So that's interesting. Any other questions, Kim?
I did have one question, which is about like students. So, two questions. I'll say the first one. So, like, is there a good way for students to know like about clean energy and like whether they want to go into, either like Miss Koara, which we had in previously for our keynote section, where she talked about advocating for climate change, or whether it's like doing your job where you're also advocating for climate change in a slightly different way. So like, how would you say like students should get interested in climate change or clean energy?
Clean energy and climate change, you can work in your field. I mean, like, for examples, if you are interested in the communications field, then you can be like in advocacy, to do the advocacy for climate change, for examples. If you work in art, you can produce art that also promote climate change. If you work in engineering, then you can do like me. You work like developing clean energy, or you work on the, helping the government with the policy. If you're interested as a lawyer, lots of things that can be done in the climate change issues. Negotiating climate change, what you call positions. So I think in all fields that you do, there are always things related to climate change. It's just a matter of how diligent you are in trying to find the link and the relationship between your field and climate change.
I think we can all do our part, right?
Especially when you work finally. For example, like me, I feel like even though I'm engineer, finally I need to know all about contract, which is about legal. I need to know about economics, which is, like it's financial and economics. I need to know when I deal with people, I finally have to learn how they behave, which is a psychology. So there's no such thing, just only we work only one field. No way. You have to learn everything in this life. Anyway, yes.
Yeah, adaptability, very important.
Yeah, so you cannot undermine, or you cannot you cannot take any field for granted, because any field has its own position and role in the life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So do you think, I think when you go into university for like mechanical engineering, you'd expect maybe you're like doing hands-on work, or like working in the power plant with the other engineers? Is that
Well, in fact, when I decided to do that, I didn't really think of what I'm going to do after I graduated. I just think that, okay, I like math, I like physics, I like thermodynamics. Okay, let's go mechanical engineering. And I remember what I like to do is always my dream that I would like to work where I can travel around the world. And it happens. So I don't need to be stewardess or pilot to travel around the world. But in fact, finally, my work brought me around the world, because, I need to work with the government in Cambodia. I need to work with people in Vietnam, assessing their climate finance. So, yeah.
That's quite nice. That's quite nice. So like you have to fly around all these different places. What does maybe like a typical work day for you look like now that you're working remotely instead of flying?
Oh, very tiring. Back-to-back meeting. Sometimes I have to do double dating, 2 Zooms. Oh, that's a very, very weird. And then this is the thing which I think that's the drawback of Zoom era, yeah. Because finally there are 2 meetings that we have to attend, and then suddenly I just realized that, okay, what did I get from those meetings? I didn't remember. Because I put one ear here and one ear there, So, it's not easy.
All right, I'm conscious of the time. At 1:49.
Yeah.
I know that you have another meeting. Is there any last minute questions from any of the students? All right, if not, Kim, you want to close the session?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. So I'd really like to thank you for taking out valuable time to be here today and to enlighten us about like this very interesting and very like intriguing section that we might not think a lot about, but it's like very present everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And I'd also like to thank all the students for coming to the session, and I hope having listened to Ms. Priambodo talk has been really eye-opening for you to keep working hard to pursue your future goals. So thank you so much, everybody, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.